Hey guys, I'm Chris Timms. Let's talk about Metallica and their live tempos. Now before we get into it, I'd like to firstly just point out that I am absolutely a massive Metallica fan. Been a big fan since I was 13 years of age. I remember first hearing Injustice for All and how that album completely blew me away. And if you've clicked on this video and you're checking this video out, you're probably a fan just like myself. I own all the albums. Saint Anger, not a big fan of personally, but you know, still got the album. And I didn't pick up this one because I am the table! But I love the band, and I've checked these guys out live once in 2004 and also once in 2010, and both were amazing shows. They would be in my top 10 shows of all time. So I also consider them to be a fantastic live band. But what I really want to talk about today is their tempos when they're playing live. And it really sparked by something James Hetfield said recently in an interview. Check this out.
Is it like the train has started rolling and you just keep going with it?
Pretty much,
yeah.
you know. So if a song is, songs tend to be faster live.
Yeah.
And like a Fight Fire with Fire,
Yeah.
if I listen to the live recording, I'll think, who's playing that? Friggin' the Chipmunks,
Yeah, right.
I couldn't play along with it. There's something that happens live. So it's easier live, I'd say.
And so when I first heard those comments by James, I was quite interested in making this video, and I thought, well, you know what, let's pull up Fight Fire with Fire. We'll do a comparison with the original recording and also a comparison with a live recording of that song. And where I want to pull this one up from is from the Mexico DVD from 2009. Great concert DVD. If you don't own it already, check that one out. So what we also have to take into account here as well is that there is a different vocal performance from James on this live performance, and also too, you're probably aware that they use a different tuning live. They're actually in E-flat tuning as opposed to standard tuning that's on the original recording. But we need to put those two things aside. What we're going to basically do is we're just dealing primarily with tempo here, okay? And we're just going to have a quick listen to the differences in speed between these songs. So when we listen to this, it's obvious, yes, in the live recording here, yes, it is faster. Is it a tidy performance? Absolutely. Everybody's playing together. There's also tempo that is essentially established by James in the intro riff, and it is maintained right through the song. Is playing a faster tempo of the song necessarily bad? I don't think so. I really think that within this genre of music, giving a song an extra 5 to 10 BPM can really add excitement and a certain punch that we wouldn't be able to get otherwise. Guys, we have to remember that when we're listening to original recordings, we have something I like to just basically call studio magic at play here, where we're double tracking guitars, we've got reverb and compression and all those effects that come with making a recording in the studio. But when we're playing live, we don't necessarily have that. Yes, we've got things like backing tracks and sequencing all coming into play in live performances now, but Metallica have always prided themselves on being a very honest, a very pure band. band when they play live, and they've never really dealt with that, okay? They've never really added any of that sort of stuff into their shows. It's just when you watch the guys play, it's those 4 members on stage playing and little else to support that. And I like that. I think there's a really cool element of honesty going on there. So guys, let's check out another song from their catalogue called Fuel, which is on one of their later albums called Reload. And it's so funny to say one of their later albums called Reload when the album is now 20 years old, but
okay.
So I want to check out one of the better songs on that album called Fuel. And let's have a listen to the original recording of that. We're just going to take the intro and the first verse and chorus once again.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. Ooh.
Okay, now let's pull up a live version of Fuel, and I want to check out the performance from 2010's DVD release, The Big Four, which also features, of course, Megadeth, Anthrax and Slayer, another 3 great metal bands. An awesome DVD concert package if you haven't checked that out already. And let's have a listen to this one, and let's see if we can spot some of the differences in it.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
So it's noticeably faster. It's quite fast, in fact. And one of the questions that we need to ask ourselves, I feel, when we listen to this is that, is playing a faster tempo of a song and continuing to speed up during the song a bad thing? Yes, absolutely. What's happening here is there is a tempo being established by James in the vocal intro. And once the song kicks in, it's maintained for a little bit, and then once it goes into this halftime groove, you can really notice that Lars is beginning to push the tempo even further. Let's have another quick listen to this little part that I'm talking about.
Turn on icy red, drilling crash, crack my head, not too drunk to pay me dead. It's icy red, running plus through black and white.
And so here is where we start to run into problems. The performance here is not quite as tidy as it could be. So the performance of the song really starts to suffer here because it's not quite in the groove of where it once was. It's not a matter of 5 or 10 BPM faster than before. It's like starting at 10 BPM and then pushing to 15, 20, and then it starts to go into some of those comments that James was saying where the song starts to become a little unrecognizable. You know, who is playing this song?
Delete that. I mean, I don't know for you guys. For me, it doesn't cut it, you know.
And so we start to ask ourselves, well, who's to blame here? While tempo itself is something that is maintained by the whole band and every band member is responsible for, I believe the drummer is responsible for initially setting where that tempo is going to be established. So if you need proof of that, I mean, look at how many songs are counted in by the drummer alone. And so what happens is we have to unfortunately put the blame back on Lars for this one.
And all these rules and all this shit, man. This is a fucking rock and roll band.
I know that the internet is full of Lars haters out there. You don't have to go very far on the internet to find a negative comment about Lars's playing. And this is something that goes all the way back to the Cliff Burton early era of the band. Lars has always got excited, he's always tended to speed up songs, and the band has always played with him. So what we witnessed here in these videos is really nothing new. He's been doing it for years, okay? And it's one of those things the band has always played and accommodated to that. When drummers come up to me and they say that they're not a fan of Lars, I have to respect their opinion. I have to say, yeah, cool. You know, I get exactly where you're coming from, and I can see why you wouldn't be a fan of Lars.
Fuck!
I'm not a Lars hater, okay? I actually find that there are some things within Lars's playing that I do enjoy listening to. He's got a very unorthodox, a very natural flow to what it is that he's playing. And I'm going to borrow a comment from one of my favorite drummers, who's also a drummer I get to play with quite regularly at gigs, Lee Clark. And a guy that I've known since I was 13 years old, so we go all the way back. Great guy, and he said something about Lars recently that really struck a chord with me, and that was, Lars is the right drummer for Metallica. His writing, his production, his arrangements of Metallica songs, his work in the studio is really second to none.
So yeah, it's really quite obvious that Metallica play their songs faster when they play live. Some faster than others, noticeably. But it's really no different from most of their peers, like AC/DC, Iron Maiden, Megadeth, Guns N' Roses. All of these guys tend to push their tempos a little bit quicker when they play live. So what it comes down to is making your own personal choice. Is that something that you enjoy listening to when you go to a live show? Coming from a guy that's seen them live twice, I personally can't wait until I get to see them in my hometown again.
So I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about Metallica and their live tempos and their live shows in general? Have you been to a show? What was it like? Do you own any of the concert DVD Blu-ray releases? Would love to hear from you guys in the comments below. And of course, if you like this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Chat soon.